What's going on, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome back to The Fringe. If you joined me on the channel yesterday, I had some choice words for the Conservative Party of Canada for how they're managing things moving forward. Again, I want to be really clear that I found it very funny how a very large percentage of people immediately think that anytime you're asking a question of a party or you're demanding better performance from a party, that you're instantly bashing them, that you don't want them to succeed. I hate to be the bearer of bad news. I'm going to put this in a sports analogy for you. If your team makes it to the championship game and they lose the game with poor management, bad choices, the coach doesn't sit there and say, hey guys, we're not going to address any of these issues. We'll just do the same thing again next time and hope for better results. You try to improve your team. You try to maybe change some positions. You change your plays. You analyze where you made the mistakes. Now, that granted, I don't believe Pierre made a whole lot of mistakes in his campaign. The only mistake I see was hiring and putting up with his team, with Jenny Byrne. Again, I've commented on that many times. I think Jenny should be fired. Keep in mind, Jenny Byrne was in charge of Stephen Harper's campaign. He lost. She was in charge of Andrew Scheer's campaign. He lost. She was in charge of Aaron O'Toole's campaign. They both lost. Let's be honest, Aaron O'Toole was garbage. But now she loses with Pierre. Now, Jenny Byrne's relationship with Pierre, previous to Pierre's marriage, of course, if you didn't know, they used to be a couple. I don't know if maybe Pierre kept her on board as a favor due to their history, or if he actually believed that she had the political clout to put him in the prime minister's chair. Whatever his reasons may be, I think after 4 losses, it's safe to say her team doesn't know what they're doing in politics. She should be fired. They need to rebrand, and it looks like maybe that's happened. Now, again, nothing's been made public, but Pierre's back. He's back to the way he used to be, and it's one of the things I'm happy to see in the House of Commons. This is what's going to help him when it comes to his by-election riding. Representation. Seeing that he's actually speaking up for what needs to happen. There's no more slogans. We've had time to lick our wounds. Pierre isn't coming out talking about learning from his mistakes anymore, saying, hey, let's slowly stay in the shadows until this by-election's over. Let's fence it. Let's play it safe, just as they did during the campaign. Now, or I should say prior to the campaign. That's part of what cost them the election. They rode on the coattails of Justin Trudeau's follies, saying this is going to win us the election, that we'll just let Justin win it for us. Once Mark Carney came into the picture, they had no choice but to try and attack Trump. That didn't work out very well because it went against his base. Now he's coming back. And I like this Pierre. I hope this Pierre sticks around for the long haul. Because there's no more attacks anymore. He's just talking common sense, the one thing he preached about all the time. Pierre says we need to scrap every anti-energy bill immediately to unleash Canada's resources. Here's the problem. Carney won't touch a single one. Not Bill C-69, not the cap, nothing. He's not here to build, he's here to block. Now, I've had previous videos talking about how Mark Carney isn't going to change. Again, earlier this morning, go and watch that video. What you have to realize about Mark Carney when it comes to pipelines, he's already made it very clear that, oh yeah, if everybody else is on board, I'm on board. We're going to do what we can to work with Alberta. Alberta's moving forward with or without Mark Carney. In fact, Mark Carney's sending the message that the government still doesn't care about Alberta because he fails to address Alberta's needs and concerns. If Mark Carney was going to put in a pipeline, if Mark Carney was going to do anything to unleash Alberta's resources and remove the emissions cap, remove the industrial carbon tax, he'd be touting it from the rooftops as a savior. He'd be doing it immediately. This shows he has no plans to move forward. His recent actions show no plans to move forward with the pipeline. He's just like Justin. Let's hear what Pierre actually has to say, because it's a very well-spoken statement. And this is the Pierre we all want.
If Mr. Carney really wants to get things done, he's certainly not in a hurry to do it. These things are going to take a long time, even if he acts immediately. And he's talking about waiting till fall before any legislation will be passed. And he's only going in half measures. So I'll give you an example. The most direct path for a pipeline to Tidewater is to Northwest BC, but there's a tanker ban in the law. So nobody is going to start planning to build a pipeline west as long as that ban is in place. So he's got to get rid of that ban, or else we will not have a pipeline to the West Coast. So where is he going to send it then? Is he going to send it up to the Arctic, to Hudson's Bay, through Quebec to New Brunswick? Well, he won't say. Yesterday, he didn't mention oil, gas, or pipelines once. Look, if you want to get things built, you need to pass very tangible changes. Very simple. You have to get rid of the industrial carbon tax, the energy cap, the West Coast shipping ban, C-69. That is how we're going to get things built. We need to unlock our incredible resources so that our trades workers get $200,000 a year jobs that will make them all better off. That's what.
So you'll see here, straight facts. He explains it very plain and simple. No slogans, no saying the Conservatives would do this or anything else. He's talking about where Mark Carney is failing. And this is exactly where Pierre needs to stand moving forward if he wants to be prominent in the Conservatives. Again, I don't believe that this was Pierre's fault. He was under the guidance of a team that told him what his optics were. I think that he hopefully has fixed the error of that team. Moving forward, I hope this is the Pierre that sticks around, that just talks facts, that points out the follies, that says, look, if you really cared about these things, here's what you'd do. Here's what you'd be doing. The Conservatives have said that as long as Mark Carney wants to steal their platform, they're willing to work with him because essentially he's just doing what the Conservatives would have done anyways. However, by taking this stance, by showing this light that, look, Mark Carney hasn't mentioned oil and gas, he hasn't done anything, he's not going to do anything, this is what shows people what they bought, what they're going to have buyer's remorse over when it comes to Mark Carney. Now, is that saying that to the Conservative voters? Absolutely not. We're talking about Liberal voters. We're talking about those on the eastern provinces that say, well, you know, my heat pump's going out at -20, I can't afford electricity, I can't afford food, I can't afford to live. Well, y'all voted Liberals. This is what you're getting. If you really want cheaper fuel, if you really want a more affordable lifestyle, if you want the ability to actually pay off our country's debt, you have to actually go to business with your country. You can't shut it all down and say, well, how come we're all broke? Pierre made a huge statement here. I applaud him for that. I think this is what we need more of. That being said, anybody who's missed Michelle Ferreri, I think she's, again, fantastic. I absolutely gobsmacked that she lost her seat during the election. But even she's still speaking out about what's necessary for Canada as she's outside of Edmonton. Let's take a look to what Michelle says.
Yes, oil and gas, my friends, right here in the heart of Alberta. Oil country. I'm just outside of Edmonton. And that is a beautiful, beautiful thing. It is what fuels your homes, your cars. It is what the world needs. It's what the world wants. But a lot of it stays in the ground. Why? Because the federal government, Mark Carney, Bill C-69, won't even say the words oil, gas, or pipeline. This is the conversation of our time. This is what will determine our sovereignty, our defense, our healthcare, our social services. This is the wealth that Canada has. This is what the world wants and needs. This is what Donald Trump wants, what's in our ground. And right now there's huge political tension in Alberta because they feel disrespected, because they do take care of a lot of our country. They work very hard, the men and women, and they have known for decades and decades how important energy is and how important oil and gas is. And you have federal legislation that vilifies this industry. And it's untrue. And if we really want to unite this country, if we really want to stand strong and put Canada back together again, to make us wealthy, to make us independent, to make us sovereign, and to love each other again, and to not fight, you build this right here. Oil and gas, energy, Canadian oil and gas. Get it out of the ground, get it across this country, employ people, ship it across the world to countries that could rely on ethically sourced oil and gas. All of the answers are right there. So Prime Minister Mark Carney, repeal Bill C-69. Say the words oil, say the words gas, say the words pipeline. We should be proud of this. This is amazing, amazing Canadian landscape, Canadian resources.
Now, behind Michelle, I will give it a very very good backdrop for this video. Does this look like ravaged land to you? Does this look like unethically sourced oil and gas? Have you guys ever seen what happens in the Middle East? Alberta and Canada touts the safest, cleanest, most ethically sourced oil and natural gas bitumen on the planet. If Mark Carney, Stephen Guilbeault, any of these wackos really cared about the environment, actually cared about the environment, and you weren't just following the money, don't you think they would be touting from the rooftops that Alberta oil should be the oil that the world is buying? That we're the only ones who are taking care of the environment as we're pulling it out. In fact, we're leaving the ground better than it was when we found it. I don't know if people realize that, if people understand that when a lot of these fracking jobs are finished, the land is actually left in better condition than it was originally found. Wildlife preserves have been placed over top of a lot of them. There's really no reason to turn your back on Alberta or Western oil and gas, even when you look at LNG through British Columbia. There's no reason. The only reason to do that is, well, follow the money. Now, I, for one, I've reached out to Michelle. I'd like to have Michelle on the channel to talk more about this, even though she's no longer an MP. I think her words are very important. Again, very shocked she didn't win her seat during the election, but Pierre's back. And I'm happy to see that, because I was kind of worried. I'm not going to lie. I was a little worried that he's been a little quiet. I know he's had the odd comment, the odd presser here and there, but he's been very standoffish when making those comments, when talking about the issues in Canada. I was worried that if a by-election were to be called over the summer, that Pierre wouldn't be showing enough teeth to convince those in Alberta who are very determined about independence to suddenly give the Conservative government another chance. Keep in mind that, again, yesterday's video is not my position on Pierre. I'm simply talking about the consensus that seems to be going around in Alberta, where he's now running for a by-election seat. A lot of people are fed up. A lot of people have said, you had your chance. We're focused on independence now. You need a backup plan. If independence fails, you want somebody in the House of Commons that can fight for Alberta, that can hopefully right the wrongs of what's happening in the federal government. Personally, I believe that there's no better person to represent Alberta than an Albertan-raised Canadian such as Pierre. Hopefully he can capture his seat. Hopefully things don't go awry for him. We'll see. We'll see how it goes once a by-election is called. But nonetheless, folks, I do believe that scrutiny is due if you ever want to improve. Not necessarily attacking, but you do have to ask questions. You do have to ask, where did we go wrong? If you want to get results at some point. Let me know what you guys think down below in the comments. Do you believe Pierre's back? Are you happy to see him take this stance? Are you happy to see him take a different approach in his press conferences than he used to prior to the election? I think it's a completely different Pierre. I like it. Let me know your thoughts down below. If it's your first time here, I hope this video has earned your subscription. Make sure as you're hitting that button, you click your bell for all notifications so you never miss a beat when a video drops on this channel. Join me live here on the channel each and every Friday night for Friday Night Fringe, our weekly live streaming show, where I'm joined by the beautiful Mrs. Fringe as we talk about everything that happened this week in politics, everything we know that's coming up in the week ahead, as well as your Q&A within the greatest YouTube community on the platform. I look forward to chatting with you guys outside of making these videos, but I most importantly look forward to chatting with you tonight at 6 p.m. Pacific, 8 p.m. Central, right here on the channel. With that said, ladies and gentlemen, hope you enjoyed this video. I hope you have a great rest of your day. I'll catch you on the next one.